Fala pessoal, bom dia, mais um Papo de PO aqui no R Sabino Cursos. Hoje a gente vai começar mais uma coisinha nova, sempre tem uma coisinha nova aqui, né? Tiago já mandou um bom dia, um good morning, um buenos dias, então hoje promete, viu gente? Hoje promete. A gente tem um convidado super especial e a gente vai fazer uma continuação do nosso papo da semana passada, mas mais do que tudo, a gente vai iniciar aqui uma nova tradição aqui no Papo de PO, que é a gente tentar fazer alguns papos internacionais e alguns papos aí usando outras línguas. A gente vai falar um pouquinho disso daqui a pouquinho. Primeiro de tudo, vamos com a nossa vinheta. Bom, a brincadeira hoje vai ser a gente falar sobre o Innovation Canvas. E a gente teve a pachorra de trazer aqui o criador do Innovation Canvas, o Filip Hendrickx. A gente já vai começar a falar com ele. Mas antes de mais nada, eu queria convidar vocês a fazerem comigo hoje um desafio de comunicação. A gente tentar falar um pouco em inglês. Mesmo quem não está super familiarizado com o inglês, vamos tentar. Então, quando vocês forem colocar as coisas no chat, se possível, já coloque em inglês, faz aquela brincadeirinha também, usa Google Tradutor, não tem problema nenhum. Good morning, you all. Welcome, Philip. We are here in our product owner chat. I'm just making a deal with people of try to speak in English and made your questions in English in YouTube chat too. It's a very pleasure having you here. But after that, I want to ask Fabricius to introduce you and explain what we want to do here with the Innovation Canvas and to you help us with this subject. Fabricius, good morning, and please help us to start this new way of the product owner chat here. Sorry, I forgot.
Nobody's listening to me.
The sound of yours was off. Turn it off. Sorry.
Thank you, people, to help it.
Sorry. Let's restart.
Restart. I'll do it again. I was saying that the first time I met Philip, I applied. I attended to a meeting of the IIBA Egypt channel, and they were talking about innovation. And Philip was the guest there, and he presented the innovation canvas that he created and invited to those who wanted to use it and try it to download it from his website, and we could ask him to talk about that. And I did it, and I invited him to a chat, and he was so nice, so kind, and helped me to understand my business and create innovation in my business. That's why I brought the innovation canvas to our meetings on Saturday. We already had done, Philip, that's interesting for you to know. First, we did a business model canvas on Saturday. After that, we created a value proposition canvas. A value proposition canvas. And in the next Saturday, we created an innovation canvas. And we see that there is some overlap over them, but they complete each other. So once again, it's a real pleasure to have you here. And we have some questions for you. Would you like to get us a little introduction of you and your company before we start making new questions?
Thank you, Fabrizio and Roberto and Lucaselli. I can indeed briefly introduce myself and my company. So thank you very much for asking me, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to attend your webinar. So what I do mostly is help organizations as a consultant on what I call lean strategy execution. How can we turn our strategy into reality, into success? And how can we do that in an iterative way? And I do this for both classic projects, you could say, and innovation-related stuff. And so for the innovation-related stuff, I have indeed developed a canvas, which is based on ideas from the other canvases you mentioned. And which also helps organizations, especially established organizations, to go beyond their traditional way of thinking. So that's something that I see often happening in organizations that already exist for a long time. That is that they have difficulty in coming up with new ideas and in trying to experiment with them. But obviously, as you tried, it works just as well for startup initiatives also. And so, yeah, that's a little bit of introduction about what I'm doing.
That's nice. About that, about trying new ideas or developing new ideas, we usually have an issue here. It's something we talk very much about, and Sabino usually stands for it. We talk about thinking on strategy or executing just from scratch, just not thinking too much, but let's go horse and make it fast. And it sometimes maybe
not exactly
bad,
go horse, but
sometimes people get into the analysis paralysis and make nothing, just stay thinking about that and can't think strategy. When we created this canvas, the three canvas we created, a discussion we have very much is that we are using our own business, that's the PO library, as an example to show people how a product owner should work in their job. And at some times we enter into a discussion, should we be spending time discussing those canvas and strategy, or should we be building our products faster and don't discuss it very much? Am I right, Sabino? Would you like to add something on that?
I just want to do something first, that is give good morning for Locoselli and ask him to say good morning for people. Locoselli is here to help us to make this chat a little in Portuguese too, because we want to do something like bilingual. So, bom dia, Locoselli. Desculpa, a gente já ia começar aqui a coisa aqui.
Já começaram, né? Já começaram. Tá tudo certo.
Tudo bem para ele?
Eu hoje aqui vou ficar de olheiro. Eu não falo inglês, eu consigo escutar um pouquinho, e eu acho que eu vou sentir alguma dificuldade em entender aí, vou pedir para vocês traduzirem algumas coisas, e também vou pedir para vocês traduzirem pro Filip algumas das minhas perguntas. E espero que o pessoal do chat aí não fique muito chateado comigo, mas eu acho que algumas das dores que eles vão enfrentar eu vou sentir muito mais, né? E quero servir aqui para ajudar e não para atrapalhar, tá? Uma coisa que eu gostaria de colocar, se vocês puderem colocar pro Filip isso, é o seguinte: eu entendo que a gente faz o canvas do nosso negócio e como todo bom brasileiro faz, guarda na gaveta e esquece, né? Como planos e tudo mais. A ideia é que o canvas é algo vivo e a gente precisa trabalhar nele continuamente. E o negócio é mais vivo ainda, o negócio precisa ser inovado, precisa ser modificado. Essa ideia dele é fabulosa. inclusive para renovar, para reatualizar o canvas de negócio. Eu vou buscar inovações no meu negócio e vou rever o meu canvas para verificar o que mudou no contexto do meu negócio. Essa junção é muito rica e eu acredito que ele tenha visto isso ao criar esse canvas.
Deixa eu fazer uma coisa antes aqui, só para manter a tradição, just to keep your tradition here, that Fabrício Laguna likes too much, that is make a small talk in the beginning of our chat. We must of all, we have some lateral subjects here before I start to our main subject. And Fabricio's like it too much, Philip. They think it's a very good thing.
He's being ironic, right? If you don't understand Brazilian humor, he's being ironic.
I like to start our chat here talking about exactly the language and how is important, or if it is important for business analysts, or if helps in business analysis have more than one language. And I'm asking that because in Belgium you have 3 official idioms: German, French, and Flemish Dutch. So I think it's a kind of learn the communication in another way than here in Brazil. Here in Brazil, we have a single culture, a single language culture. I think that is people are. It's normal to people speak only one idiom. In the school, we have a little of English classes, but it's too few, a little of vocabulary, too few grammar rules. But I think in Belgium you have at least 2 idioms in the school at the childhood. Do you think it's a good thing? A good thing for business analysts? And in Europe, I think you have a culture of have more than 1 or 2 idioms. What's your first language, and what you think about that?
Yes, it's indeed an interesting and relevant question for business analysts. So my first language is Flemish, which is kind of a dialect of Dutch. Flemish and Dutch relate to each other a little bit like UK and US English, or also a little bit like Brazilian and Portuguese. Portuguese, I understood. And so that's my native language, Flemish. And in school, as children, we learn early on French as a second language. And then a bit later on, we also learn English as a third language. And some people German, but because that is only a small part in Belgium, that language is for other people that are not native German speaking is not that important. But so we at least know we learn from being a child 3 languages. And I do think that is important because it helps you communicate better with a lot of people, even inside Belgium, where we have a lot of international organizations. So, for example, I've worked for the consumer organization in Belgium, but they collaborate with organizations in Italy, Spain, Portugal, and even Brazil. So knowing multiple languages kind of opens you up to understanding people better, to learning about their culture and the ideas they have. And as a BA, we want to create that kind of good communication with people, that kind of good relationship with people. So knowing these languages really helps you in that area. I think that's a really interesting skill.
Great.
Eu
Fabrício,
tenho uma dúvida aí.
uh,
Na visão dele, isso facilita o entendimento das coisas e a comunicação com as outras pessoas ou dificulta?
Não, eu acho que eu entendi a pergunta, na verdade, quando ele estiver falando um outro idioma que não seja o dele. É isso que você está perguntando, né, Locoselli?
Ah, tá.
Quando ele está se comunicando com outra pessoa que não seja da nacionalidade dele, não seja da
Sim.
região dele, né?
Yes, Locoselli is asking you, Philip, because we are talking that having a second or third idiom, it's good for the communication in general. But when you are trying to talk with someone who speaks a language different from your native language, it's I don't know if the question is exactly this, but it's better or worse. I mean, for example, if we need to do a job as a business analyst, for example, in English, here in Brazil, we speak Portuguese. In English, it will be difficult to understand the nuances of the language, for example. So I understood that Locoselli is interested in know about you if, for example, you talk 3 or 4 languages, but you can work as a business analyst in the same depth in the all languages. I mean, can you understand the question?
Yes. Yes, I think so. So indeed, if people do not speak the same language equally well, you sometimes get misunderstandings because different words are understood differently. But by having the conversations in multiple languages, so I've worked for organizations where we actually use 3 languages interchangeably in a single workshop or meeting, where people just switch languages all the time. And it brings out different words for the same item, for example, and then you learn about the differences in the different languages. And it takes a bit more time, but it gives you a deeper understanding of that concept, of that product or that item. And so yes, it takes a bit more time, but if you take the time to make that reflection and conversation, you will know better what you are speaking about. And ultimately, one of the 2 things that is key in business analysis is understanding data and concepts. Next to the processes, if you understand the data and the concepts well, then you can clearly define requirements and so on.
Great.
Locoselli, I think it would take a long time to make a glossary in 3 different languages for
Yes.
the same company, but it will be a very rich exercise.
The time is larger, but the understanding is better.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Se eu entendi bem, ele usa as várias línguas se comunicando ao mesmo tempo, é isso?
Assim, ele disse que ele já participou de reuniões onde as pessoas estavam usando diferentes línguas, por exemplo, 3 línguas na mesma reunião, e assim, demora um pouco mais para conseguir fazer o entendimento, né? Porque você vai ter um reforço nas diferentes línguas, mas o entendimento acaba sendo mais profundo porque você tem que discutir um pouco mais as diferenças, não só acho que de língua, mas também culturais. Aí eu já estou subentendendo, né, dos pontos de vista sobre.
Acho que vem da não suposição de que o outro entendeu o que eu falei. E eu acho que isso ajuda a
Isso
aprofundar.
faz sentido. Fabrício, sorry, I want to ask you to rebuild your question and please make the question of the Locoselli's inside yours. It's possible?
Yes, it's possible. And what Locoselli was asking before we start speaking about language was about canvas and strategy in general, we could say, that sometimes we create a canvas and a strategy from our company or from our business, and those strategy is kept in a wallet or in somewhere, and we never took back to that and see if our business is evolving as we expected it to do. And that's a big problem for innovation canvas, for business canvas, for value proposition canvas, or anyone. The question I wanted to do, and you can talk about this subject Locoselli bring to us, is that there are a lot of canvas already available on the market. Like we told about the business model canvas, the value proposition canvas, and there are others. Why did you think that creating a new canvas, the innovation canvas, was needed? What is the purpose of the innovation canvas? And how can we deal with this aspect that Locoselli raises about using the canvas just at the beginning and then looking it again to see if we are going in the right direction?
Okay, there's a lot of interesting points in these questions. So first of all, there is a big challenge between strategy and execution. A lot of companies acknowledge that while they spend time formulating a good strategy, that they are having difficulties in turning that into reality. And one of the things that I use or that I advise to use is these canvases, because they help turn your strategic idea into something more tangible. And they help you really create a link between the solution that you will be building and the goal that you're trying to achieve within your strategy with that solution. So they help create that link. And it's only by creating the link between the strategy and what you're actually doing in projects that ultimately the strategy will end up being successful rather than ending up in a wallet or in a closet or somewhere where it's never looked at again. And then it becomes important that these canvases are being used frequently, that you frequently look back at them. How well are we doing in the different areas? Are we really getting to the customer segment that we initially were focusing on? Is it working well? Do we need to change something? Yes or no? And so to turn that strategy into and I believe that business analysts and product owners and other people that have a business analysis role are very well placed to play that role, to be the link between strategy and execution, because they are working in projects, and projects are the place where strategy is turned into operational reality. And so I believe that being a more strategic BA is a very important part of product owners, business analysts, product managers. Now to come back to the question about do we need yet another canvas? When I worked at the consumer organization in Belgium, I was coaching their innovation teams, and we were initially working with the business model canvas, but we noticed that people easily got tricked into thinking a lot about the internal structure organization. At the left side of the business model canvas is about resources and partnerships and that stuff. It's important, but when you start out something new, you need to focus on the problem first. You need to focus on understanding the problem, understanding the customer. And because half of the business model canvas is about these internal things, it draws away the attention from the customer. What I also tried out, so if you then look at the value proposition canvas, that's very good to understand the problem, but it's the only thing in the canvas. And when I work with people in the organization, in an established organization, they often come up with problems. For example, when we were thinking about creating a digital wine guide, the organization already had a paper wine guide that they updated every year. And they wanted to turn that into a digital version, but they didn't yet know how. Is it the PDF? Is it the website? Do we need the mobile phone? And so on. But they quickly learned we should be able to show many more wines on the digital version than on the paper version. And then people that are the wine experts in the organization came up with a problem. They say, yes, but we can manage to test 100 wines every year, but we cannot manage to test 1,000 or 10,000 wines. So your idea will never work. And so I needed in our canvas something where this concern could be written down. We need, or we think we need, to be able to process 1,000 or 10,000 wines. so that these people can stay on board, because you need these wine experts that have experience with the process. You need them in order to build your solution. But at the very first moment, at the very start of the project, you don't know yet whether it is right. Will we need to be able to test so many wines? Because we haven't investigated, we haven't validated the problem yet. And so you want to put it on the canvas to keep the people on board, to have a good relationship with them. But at the same time, you want to move forward the idea. And so in the value proposition canvas, these things are sometimes more difficult to integrate, which is why I try to make a mix where I could combine different pieces of information. And this is how the innovation canvas was initiated.
Great. Filip, I will have go pause here to talk to chat. And eu queria só falar para o pessoal que entrou depois, né, do início. A gente está fazendo um papo hoje. A ideia é fazer um papo multilíngua, né, para a gente começar a expandir um pouco o nosso papo de PO e expandir também a nossa capacidade de intercambiar informações, né, e também trazer um pouco de outras culturas. A gente tem duas perguntas aqui no chat, mas uma delas eu acho que tem a ver com essa pergunta que a gente respondeu agora. E outra coisa que eu ia falar, para quem estiver assistindo, a gente está num desafio hoje linguístico, então eu queria pedir para vocês irem tentando fazer as perguntas em inglês mesmo, mas se precisar pode colocar em português também, não tem problema, tá? Deborah have said in the YouTube chat, her question is, what's your opinion about agile projects, about new culture? I understand that Innovation Canvas have a great link with the agile thought. I don't know if it's exactly the approach, but I think it's the same idea. Work with the information a little more open to the changes and try to make innovation at business. So what's your opinion about agile projects and about this new culture? I don't know, you can tell us if in Europe, for example, agile is a new culture or if it's something that already have became business as usual. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. So in Europe, most companies are somewhere in the middle between waterfall approach and fully agile approach. And so we did a BA survey very recently with the IIBA Brussels chapter, and it appears that most companies are roughly in the middle. So they try to combine both approaches in some way. In innovation projects, a key thing is the uncertainty. A lot of people try to come up with new ideas. But what is innovation really about? The key thing about innovation is that you are not certain. You do not know whether this will work. Do we really know the problem of the customer? Do we really know the customer? Do we really know we can build this technically? And so on. And so because of that uncertainty in innovation projects, you need a project implementation approach where you can manage that uncertainty. And by having a more iterative, a more agile approach where you have small chunks of time where you build something and you test that and you learn from the test and then you fine tune and adapt and you iterate that process, that is really important to deal with the uncertainty. In projects where you already know very well what you will be doing, for example, a retailer that is opening up its 151st store, they have already opened 150 stores. They know how to do that. The uncertainty is much lower. And so there you can have a more waterfall approach because the uncertainty is very limited. In innovation projects, the uncertainty is high, and there you really need to apply this much more iterative or agile approach.
Great. Fabrício, eu queria só reforçar aqui em português o que ele falou, porque eu acho que esse ponto aqui... Oi?
Acho que vale, foi muito legal.
Eu acho bem interessante para quem está assistindo, e aí para evitar talvez até o misunderstanding, né? ele trouxe uma coisa bem interessante. Ele disse que na Europa as empresas estão ainda no meio do caminho ali, né? Entre o mais tradicional, o waterfall, e o ágil. Então eu acho, assim, eu entendi que é algo muito parecido, por exemplo, com o que a gente vive aqui em São Paulo, né? Porque no Brasil também tem diferença de regiões, né? Algumas regiões usam mais ágil, outras não. Então eu acho que aqui em São Paulo a gente deve estar mais ou menos alinhado com o que está acontecendo lá. Mas uma coisa interessante que ele falou e que acho que reforça um pouco o que a gente tem trazido aqui é que quando você tem um projeto, que você vai fazer alguma coisa, que você tem muitas certezas, é melhor você usar uma abordagem mais tradicional. E quando você vai trabalhar com inovação e quando você vai trabalhar em um ambiente com muitas incertezas, aí o mindset ágil é bem melhor. Inclusive, eu estava conversando com o Edilson sobre isso ontem, né, pelo WhatsApp, e eu acho que aqui reforça muito essa ideia e eu concordo muito com isso. Philip, I agree totally with this vision of the approaches in each kind of project, and I'm reinforce it in Portuguese to people in our chat here. Assim, a gente...
Rodrigo,
Oi.
eu queria perguntar para ele sobre os papéis do PO, do
Boa.
engenheiro de requisitos. Eu acho que é uma hora
Manda
propícia.
bala.
E eu vou perguntar para ele se ele vê. Aqui no Brasil, a gente vê uma mistura. Quem é analista de negócio, PO, engenheiro de requisitos, muitas vezes é a mesma pessoa. Como é que ele vê isso na Europa? Philip, here in Brazil, we have seen that some roles as the business analysts, requirements engineering, and product owners, despite they have different definitions and different body of knowledge, or they came from different areas or methodologies, usually it's the same person doing all those three roles. In some companies, they just change the name of the role and the same person keeps doing the same thing. And I don't know how it is in Europe or in the projects you are dealing with and the companies you are working with. How do you see those three roles? Do you see them differently, or in conceptual view and in the practice? How do you see the difference about those roles in practice? In this chat, we call the product owner chat because most of our folks that attend are product owners, but a lot of them are in kind of jumping from one role to another here.
Yeah. So in Europe, it really depends on the size of the organization typically. The bigger the organization, the more different roles there will be for different people. And if the organization is smaller, a single person will be doing 2 or 3 roles: product manager, product owner, business analyst, or even functional analyst if you look at the detail. And so it really depends on the size of the company often, and also a bit of the background. I do think there are differences, but before diving into what is the ultimate definition of product manager, product owner, or business analyst, what I think a team should do at the start is look at what are the different activities, tasks, responsibilities that we have within our team. So for example, someone will have to look at the processes. Someone will have to look at how will the solution look like, feel like, the design of the solution. Someone will have to manage the list of requirements, whether it is a list in a spreadsheet or on a user storyboard or whatever. Someone will have to manage that. Someone will have to make strategic decisions about marketing, about the target audience, about how much do we want to invest in each customer segment, and so on. So you have a very wide set of tasks and responsibilities. As a team, when you sit together, discuss who will be taking which role, who will be taking which activity, regardless of the title or the name. And then you will have a clear understanding of who is responsible, who is accountable for what activity, and you will have a clear understanding of how the team can collaborate together and where there may be gaps. What I typically see is that a product manager has this strategic view and ultimately makes the calls, takes the decisions on how to proceed. The product owner has a view on the storyboard or the story map on the features and how the features help the customer throughout his customer journey. And the business analyst is the person that is trying to turn that into what does the solution need to do? How does this link to our background processes that also may involve other departments in the organization? How does this tie back to the information that we manage? So that's typically the role of the business analyst. And an important difference there is that typically a BA or a BA role shows different options. Make sure we all understand the problem well. Make sure that we understand the pros and cons of different alternatives. But he's neutral. He's giving advice, but he's not taking a decision. Ultimately, the product owner and the product manager will be taking the decision.
Great. Very.
Se eu entendi bem, a situação é similar ao nosso ambiente.
Eu também achei, assim.
Agora,
It's similar.
eu percebi, não sei se eu entendi errado, mas o papel do analista de negócio lá é mais bem definido do que aqui. Eu entendi correto, Fabrício?
Então, Locoselli, ele falou que vai depender muito do tamanho da empresa.
Sim, sim.
Empresas menores, isso...
Mas nas maiores eles separam bem os papéis.
Nas maiores existem mais uma segmentação de papéis, mas o que ele colocou é que, assim, independente do nome do papel, o mais importante é identificar quais são as tarefas que precisam ser feitas dentro da equipe, e aí você organiza que essas tarefas sejam feitas e vai atribuindo responsáveis. O analista de negócio, no entender dele, é alguém um pouco mais neutro, ele não está correlacionado a um produto, como tal Product Manager ou Product Owner, e ele deveria dar opções de design uma visão mais ampla de negócio, ultrapassando toda a cadeia de valor.
Mas essa é a visão dele, não é a situação lá.
A situação lá varia, como aqui.
Tá.
It's the same. Deborah have said, I love waterfall projects. Interesting. And Philip has answered the question of Ronaldo, sometimes even product manager too, and Philip already have talked about the role of the product manager and the product owner and the difference between them. It's a great thing. So, Fabricio, it's time to see if our innovation canvas was a good job or not. We have done an innovation canvas last Saturday, and now the creator of the canvas will say us if we have done a good job or not. It's time of that now.
Mas ainda não falta 20 minutos para acabar, pô.
No, our small talk is finishing, and let's start the main talk now.
May I present it, Sabino?
What?
May
Yes.
I present my screen? I share my screen.
Just a minute. Yes. Now. That's
Trying to do it. Share it. Can you see my screen?
not yet.
Yes.
It's coming up.
Now we have your screen, and it's showtime now.
It's showtime. Let's start with what we already have on the screen. That is the pitch and the team. And I added. You didn't have a place here, Philip, to the name of our business. So I put the name of our business on the top. Maybe it's a suggestion to create a field for the name of the business. Do you want to make some comments on that?
That's a good suggestion. It's a very good suggestion, actually. Yeah, it's right. You could integrate it in the pitch, but it is often nice to have a very short name separately. So I'm going to update this.
Nice. Would you like to introduce the canvas for people to? Where do you suggest people to start? Because some people that are watching us are going to use this canvas to do their business as well. So would you like to do some introduction?
I can give a brief introduction. So the top part is about the customer. It helps you look at your ID from the point of view of the customer. What is his problem? What is the customer? What does he look like? And what is the segment? How is solving the problem valuable for him? And what would the solution look like? And then when you move to the bottom, you start thinking about your internal organization. Why can we provide this solution? Why is it useful for us to provide it? What added value can we provide? Are we going to do it by ourselves, or are we going to collaborate with partners? On the bottom right, how are we going to get value from it? It can be money, it can be some other kind of value. And on the bottom left, what do we need to build this solution and to reach our customers? Like in the example of the wine guide, the fact that you might need to be able to test thousands of wines. So that's very briefly an overview of the canvas. If you look in more detail, like the problem also mentions the problem context. That's where we typically think about customer journeys. In what situation will the customer be when he encounters the problem? And on the right side, the solution also mentions a box existing alternatives. It's very often a good idea to think about how does your customer solve your problem today? What is the alternative that he is using? For example, we have some services online to transfer large files. An existing alternative is email. Why is our solution better than email? Why does email does not fully solve the problem for certain customers? And so listing those existing alternatives gives you a better understanding of the key features that your solution should have. And so that's a very brief overview of the canvas. If you go to my website and you download it, there is a bit more explanation about the different boxes in there.
Nice. And your website URL is in the bottom of the canvas, so people can take it from there. Nice.
I will put your website in the description of the video. I'm not do it already, but I will. It's a important thing that people that are seeing us can help, can have your help to understand better if have question, so on.
Great.
Absolutely.
Let's see a real example now.
let's see
Let's see what we did. Yes. I start by the problem. Our pitch is everything you need to be a product owner and was afraid to ask. So we are focusing on the problems of actual product owners. We are going to talk more about the customer segment in a while, but the problems we are trying to solve is to find relevant information. We think that people that need to be a product owner have difficult to find that. They have disorganized information online. There's a lot of information, but they're not very well organized. Some of them are having difficult to enter in the product owner career. And another problem they have to manage the backlog of the projects they're working on. And
okay,
should I move on, or would you like to make any comments?
I can already give some feedback. I can already give some feedback which might help in understanding what the different boxes mean. So find relevant information, and the fact that there is a lot of disorganized information which makes it difficult to find the right information are very clear problems. So people look for information on how do I do product ownership. So those are clear. Manage the backlog is also clear. It's more specific, and so it's good to think about very specific problems. It's a typical question about the type of information people would be looking for. And so you could try to list more kinds of information and then investigate which type of information are people looking for the most. Is it about backlog management? Is it about how can I investigate whether or not we can build something? Is it about how do I write good user stories? What is the information people are looking for most? Are there things that pop up quickly. You can also ask people, if you look at the different boxes here, which one is the most important one for you? Which is your most important problem? Or do you have other problems in your context of being a product owner? Now for the fourth box, enter the PO career, there I'm thinking, on one side, this looks a bit like a customer segment. People who are thinking about becoming a product owner, but have some kind of difficulty in taking that step. And so I would say this could be a customer segment, and I would try to talk to these people and try to find out what makes it for you hard to become a product owner. And there some new problems might pop up in that conversation.
It's a good point of view. We have in chat a little of this conversation, but now I think it's better to try to understand what's the problem for someone who needs to enter to PO career, that least enter PO career like as a problem, a real problem. Did you agree, Fabricio?
Yes, and in a while we are going to. I'm going to show you the customer segment, and Philip is right. We created a PO candidate as a customer segment. He's trying to enter a PO career, but what are the difficulties he are dealing with to enter the career? And it's not clear here. We don't have a clear statement of our problem. We are mostly like defining a customer segment. I think Philip has a very good point, and it helps us to look for what we need to investigate deeply. Very good.
That's right.
Very good. That's something we have to improve here. Let's go forward.
Yes.
Let's talk about the problem context. We said that there is no standard process for product owners. So it's also a problem in Agile. There's no standard process, and maybe there will never be, because it's always changing. That's part of the Agile approach. There are many techniques available for product owners to use. If you look for it, there's thousands of one, and people are dealing with the problems to decide what's the best technique for each situation, and people are feeling lost in a sea of options. Thoughts on that, Philip?
Yes. So if I look at these, they indeed give more information about the fact that there is a lot of disorganized information. People have difficulty in finding the right information. What is the PO process? What techniques should I use in which situation? So many options. I don't know where to start my work. I don't know where to start looking for help. And so it gives me a bit more information on the problem. If I think about the problem context, I would also try to answer questions like, when does this problem occur? When am I, as a PO, being confronted with the fact that I am looking for certain information and I can't find it? Is it, for example, at the start of a project? How much time do I have to go look for that information? Am I really in a hurry? Do I need the information quickly? Or is it more as in a moment where I have time to go through some training, for example? That kind of information, what is the context? When does a situation occur? Will help you identify what should our solution look like. Could it be really small bits and pieces of information with very practical tips? Can it be a more elaborate training or knowledge base? The problem context will help you understand that. Is the PO alone, or is he working together with other people? Do these people need the information that they are looking for? Do they need it together? Could it be helping these people in creating workshops or facilitating workshops and so on? Are these people enjoying themselves while they are having this problem? Or are they just trying to get it done, trying to get it solved and out of the way? So those are questions that help you clarify the problem context even more. And this is important because knowing the problem context in the broader sense and helping identify throughout the whole process of the work the PO is doing, which are the most critical points to be present as a solution provider. Is it at the start of a project? Is it during the project? Is it during retrospectives? So depending on the critical moments where the problem is the biggest for the PO, you know these, then you will be able to create a solution that solves exactly those problems, and that solution will probably be more successful. So I think this is a good start, and I think with asking a few more questions, we can identify even further the most important context where we need to be present with our PO chat or our PO knowledge base.
Philip, I don't know if I understand very well, but for example, there are many techniques available. It's not exactly a problem contest, but maybe a problem, and we need to understand when, in which moment this problem happened, and to can understand what I'm trying to give them like a solution. Is that?
That's right. When is the PO worried about the fact that there are so many techniques available? When does he want that problem to be solved?
What I like very much about what you're telling, Philip, and it makes me think a lot, is that when we are building this canvas, we are building it from our perspective. We are all professors, and we tend to think about the product owner looking for a training or a course or something where a classroom where he will learn something. And this is our perspective on that, not the customer perspective. And you are helping us to think in his perspective. Where does he think that he needs some information that occurs, that's our perspective, would help him? And sometimes he don't need a course, he don't need an online training or nothing like that. So trying to look from the perspective of the customer is a real challenge for everyone that's providing services. That's the challenge you're facing us, and it's very useful, very nice.
There is a little problem here that we already have a solution, and we are trying to fit the entire information into the solution. And Philip is seeing something different. Is a great perspective. Thanks.
Yes, the challenge or the goal of the canvas is not to put your product in the canvas, is to create a product from the perspective of the customer.
Exactly.
And that's very nice. Excellent.
Exactly.
That's right. If the whole team agrees on the canvas and is sure that the canvas is right, then you are doing something wrong.
Like that too. Did you get? Você pegou essa, Locoselli?
Não.
Só dessa. Se o time todo concordar com o canvas e todo mundo achar que tá certo, é que você tá fazendo alguma coisa errada.
Sem dúvida.
This problem we won't have because
toda unanimidade é burra.
Unanimity. Does this word exist?
I don't know.
When everybody agrees on something, in Portuguese it's unanimidade. I don't know if there's the same word in English, unanimity, but it's done. That's what Locoselli said. Let's go further.
Yes.
We have a lot of change to do in our canvas, but let's listen to your thoughts about what we did. And
most important is hear the insights from Philip. It's a great thing.
Customer segments, we defined 3 different customer segments. The POs who are already active, they're already a PO and they're starting and they are already a professional. Those that are entering the PO career and they're beginners POs, and those who want to enter that career. They want to change from other roles to the product owner role and try to find this as a job.
So I really like these. I think it's very clear what they are. And what you will see if you dive into the details of these three customer segments, if you really step into their shoes and look at the problem context, and so on from their point of view, you will see that at least three variations of the canvas start to appear. And so it's very common when you do this exercise that you end up with a number of different canvases for different customer segments. That's a good thing, because that means you really... Yeah, go ahead.
I will ask you if in this moment, if we see three different canvas, we should make three different canvas to see all details.
Yes, usually that's a good idea, because it forces you really to see the differences between the problems of these different customer segments.
Great.
And it's important to choose a focus. What you now do is changing the color, which is great, because at the start it can help combining different canvases into one by using colors. So using the orange for all PO candidate related problems and so on. Later on, split it up into separate canvases. These days, it's really difficult to make a difference with your solution. And the only way to make a difference at the start in a reasonably short amount of time is by focusing on a very specific segment. And so the more specific you can select your segment, the more specific you can identify the problem, the more suited your solution will be for that customer segment. And then when you publish this product, you will start getting traction, and you can build up slowly to a wider audience, and you can start adding on features for additional customer segments that are close to the first one, but not exactly the same. And it's a much safer route to go, rather than trying to solve everyone's problem at the start. And so doing the exercise of identifying the segments and then selecting the best segment to start with is a really interesting exercise.
Maybe for example, in this exercise, if we identify PO candidate as the most important customer for us, maybe we need to forget a little the others and focus on PO candidate as our customer segment only. And after that, if the product can be changed to have more customers, it will be a embracing product. I mean, we need to focus in have the product, maybe the MVP, most important solution for a kind specific of customer. It's a great insight.
That's right. Yeah, and you can build up from there, but you learn quickly.
Né?
Como que é, Locoselli?
Eu posso ter vários segmentos de uso de clientes com aquele mesmo problema.
Sim.
Pode não ser todos, pode ser um, pode ser alguns, pode ser todos. Isso aí varia, né?
É que eu entendi uma nuance aí, assim, que quando você identifica diferentes segmentos, é porque eles têm alguma necessidade diferente, né? Assim, mesmo que a gente não enxergue, por exemplo, in this specific case, PO already active and PO candidate have a little of differences in their needs. It's a kind of different thought. I'm not looking for have a product that solve problem for everybody, but I'm trying to focus on the customer that I can made a good product for him.
Mas o que eu estou querendo dizer é que, por vezes, mesmo você tendo segmentos diferentes, com problemas diferentes...
Vai ser muito parecido, né?
Pode haver segmentos que são afetados por aquele mesmo problema.
Yes.
Vários segmentos,
I
ou
agree.
todos os segmentos. Tá?
Sem dúvida. O que o Filip colocou, Locoselli, e que é interessante, é que se você... É muito difícil diferenciar no mercado de hoje. Então, ter um negócio que se diferencia da concorrência, que de fato gera um valor, é muito difícil. Então, quando você foca num segmento específico, você tem mais chance de conseguir criar uma solução inovadora ou que se diferencie das demais com esse foco.
Às vezes exatamente por causa disso, né?
E isso não que você vai deixar os outros públicos de lado, mas
Não,
isso te dá prioridade, para você definir prioridade e tentar se
Não, e às vezes
diferenciar.
você deve deixar os outros de lado mesmo,
Em
porque
alguns
senão
casos, sim.
você não cria a sua diferença, né?
Yes.
isso aí.
I'm thinking here, I don't know if we truly need to focus on, for example, PO already active or PO candidate, or if they have different needs. But I think we need to think about. It's an important advice, and we need to.
We should at least discuss who are we prioritizing in our solution.
Yes, exactly.
But
Let me bring something from the chat. Ronaldo says a question. How important is the field research pulse interview to identify segments or persona? In fact, I think he is trying to know how this tool of made pulse an interview, it's good to define our customer segment. I understood that the question. What do you think, Filip?
There was a bit of a connection issue, but I think I understood the question. So I really think that customer interviews are the best way to start learning. They are the best way to start testing your ID, to start validating, am I on the right track, to start understanding what are customer segments, what problems do they have, when do these problems arise. So I absolutely think that that direct contact with the customer or the potential customer is really important. And I also think that it's important to have that contact yourself. A lot of companies, especially bigger companies, use external suppliers to do customer research. But if you haven't really seen how the customer is frustrated by having a problem, that frustration, that experience never comes out of customer research with a report on paper. It only comes really out, you feel it by seeing the customer experience it. So then having those conversations yourself next to the customer research is really important. Yes, so I would always start with that.
Interesting. I wonder if surveys would not be a better way because they're quantitative, not just qualitative as interviews. You may interview someone that does not represent a lot of people and get the wrong idea about the population as a whole. But I got what you mean by feeling the anxiety or what your customer feels, and that's very, very interesting. I didn't think about that before yet.
And if I can pick up on that,
go on.
If I can pick up on that, Fabrizio, about the difference between surveys and interviews, you are absolutely right. Interviews give you qualitative information. Surveys give you quantitative information. The challenge with surveys is that it is very difficult to know what question you have to ask. And it is very difficult to interpret the results because you may get a number out of it, but why do you get that number? Why do people think that way? And so I think you should do both, but do the qualitative phase first. Try to better learn the customer segment, the problem context, the customer value. And that will help you identify the questions you have to ask for your quantitative validation, for example, through a survey. And I can share a small example. Back in March, we were supposed to be organizing our BA conference here in Belgium. But obviously, because of COVID, that was not possible. So we did a small investigation, we did a small survey, and we asked people, would you participate in the conference if we let it happen in March? There were at that moment no hard restrictions yet, just a few days before. So the first question was, would you participate in the conference? And about 75% of the people said, yes, I would participate. And the second question was, would you think it is a matter of good behavior to postpone the conference? And there we had about 70% of people say, yes, we think it's good to postpone. Mm-hmm. So that's a very interesting result. 70% says, I will come. And the 70% says, I prefer to have it postponed. So it shows that this survey asks for more research. And so a survey is very difficult to get right. So first do the qualitative research, help that fine-tune the questions you need to ask, and then do the quantitative validation of the results through surveys.
Gostaria de dar pitaco.
Vai lá, Lucas.
A entrevista, a pesquisa é uma técnica que exige um trabalho muito bem elaborado para você ter respostas compatíveis. É muito difícil você conseguir um público que responda adequadamente uma pesquisa. Se você elabora as questões muito bem, o resultado pode ser bom. Mas toda pesquisa...
É difícil, né?
É difícil, porque ela está sujeita à interpretação e você não tem garantia de quem está respondendo corretamente.
Eu acho que esse é um pouco o ponto do Filip também, né? Na questão exatamente desse exemplo, né? Onde é difícil de interpretar a resposta, até porque não sei se a pergunta foi mal feita ou se simplesmente não era um resultado esperado, né? É difícil de...
E toda pesquisa, no meu entender, ela merece entrevistas posteriores para confirmação de entendimentos, né? Para interpretar o resultado delas.
Oh, yes, the two techniques are complementary. So when we do a survey, maybe an interview can explain a little the results, and it's an important thing. Filip, we have another tradition here. That is, we have a little problem with the time to end our chat, because we start to talk and we keep talking and just chat never ends. I don't know exactly what Fabricius have tell you about the time, but
I was smart this time and I told him nothing. Well, that's what I know about the end time, of course. I told him nothing.
I don't know. We have now, I think, two ways to keep going. One of them is have a great overview in all the canvas, or try to set up a second chat to make the comments and finish it. I don't know what you think about the possibility of have one more time to can help us with this innovation canvas. And if we have just more 20 minutes to finish this chat today.
Como é que diz para ele, a noite é uma criança, Fabrício?
Night's a child, Lucas.
Será que essa expressão existe na língua?
I think it's don't make sense. Locoselli is asking you, Filip, if I tell you night is a child, it makes sense for you?
Is that an expression?
No.
Because here in Brazil, it's something like it's just beginning. It will... What?
Like it never ends.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
But
But maybe if I can give a quick thought about that, tying it back to something Fabrizio said at the beginning about analysis paralysis and just let's get going. So that is indeed a challenge that I see in a lot of organizations. You have people just have an idea, they write it on a post-it and they want to get started and develop it. And you have other people that say, no, we need to think about it and it's not right and this we understand not yet well and so on and so on. And they keep on thinking about it. And so that's where a canvas can help you take this little step back, not just dive into the solution, but take a little step back and get this overview. But at the same time, once you have a first version, you have something to start doing your validation with. So finding the balance between analysis paralysis and just get going, that is where something like this canvas can help you with. Because indeed you want to move forward, but you don't want it to end up in chaos. About your question, Roberto, I am fine either way. If you would like to set up another session to continue, I can. That is fine for me.
I will suggest that we finish more 20 minutes and we finish the first part of this conversation in the same time we are doing, and we set up a second session. Yes, because it's very interesting. You are bringing us very important insights, so I think we can do this way. It's better. It could be, Fabrizio.
Yes, I think I could show the rest of the canvas today, and we take the main tips from Filip and make comments about what we did. We will try not to interrupt you so much, so we can make the best of 30 minutes we have, and try to reschedule another talk for another day.
If you want to keep going at the same way that we are doing, and in 2 sessions, I think we can do it. So there is no problem. If you don't want to have the overview now so fast, there is no problem. I'm just talking that we can set up a second session, and I think that is a good way to have the insights and have the comments in which step that we are seeing.
So I think that it's good to take the time to dive in enough detail, because if you have just a very quick overview, it all seems very simple. Yes. It's only when you start thinking about something in a little bit more depth that the questions pop up. And those are the questions that you want to have, that you want to discuss in order to get a better understanding of your idea and to know where do we need to start to validate the idea. So I think it might be interesting to just continue the conversation, but not hurry it. See if we can add 1 or 2 more boxes to it, and then we do the rest in a second session.
All right.
Okay.
Perfect.
Let's
move on. Let's do some more boxes. And in the customer value, we proposed that the customer that the value we were proposing for our customers are performance improvement. The performance of the people who are working as product owner would improve with our solution, or should improve with our solution. A career projection, he should be seen as a better product owner or as someone who has more, who's delivering more value to his company, maybe for a higher salary or for a higher position. Improvement of financial gain, this higher salary I told, and professional recognition. It could be use our solution to make a stand, to be differentiated from the other professionals that are not using our solution.
So I think these are very good examples of customer value. Value is often a bit intangible, and I think here you gave some very good examples of what is the value. Why would someone want to have that problem solved? Why would someone for example, the PO candidate, why would someone want to become a PO? What would he get from it? What you could do here is ask your customers, your potential customers, which would be the most important value for you that will make you want to use our solution, that will make you want to solve your problem. Because if you know that key value, that most important value, that's the reason why the customer will ultimately invest his time and money in using your solution. So if you know that, you can kind of fine-tune the solution around it. If it's professional recognition, then you might have to create something like a certificate that the PO can use to showcase the fact that he has been taking your information. Whereas it's about improvement of financial gain, that certificate might not be a useful. And so knowing really the key customer value will help you understand why the customer would invest his time, his money, his effort in your solution.
This analysis can also show some feature in the solution that is more important than the others. I mean, here we have, if we are seeing to our customer values at the same level, like it's the same, we will put the same energy in every features of the solution. And here maybe we need to understand in which part of the product we need to expend more energy. It's something like that.
Yes, it will help you prioritize.
Great.
Because I like this concept you brings, Philip, that in every box here, you always say, if you can understand or ask your customer what's most important for him, you will find your focus. You can prioritize your requirements, and you can try to deliver more value for your customer, prioritizing the points here. And how can I find what is most important for him? Is asking him, is trying to engage with him, and interviews or other kind of ways that I can connect to him and understand what's more important for him.
That's absolutely right. Whatever we are writing down here is just theory. It's what we think. And by going outside, we are challenged by the actual customer, and we will learn from the actual customer. Are we right? Are we wrong? What should we adapt? Absolutely.
Maybe this direction of Filip is giving us is a little different from what we have done, because we are embracing, we are expanding, and the way it seems like it's better you try to go depth and understand better what exactly you want to do, what exactly your solution will bring for the customers, and not try to do something that it's good for everybody.
Yes,
I don't
that's
know
right.
if Fabricio agree with me that
Yes, I do.
we worked in a different way when we make the innovation canvas at the first time.
And something interesting about what you're saying, Sabino, is that as system analysts, as we work it a lot also, when we're developing a system, we are always thinking about reuse, about creating something that could embrace the most amount of problems as possible. If I can create a piece of code that solves one problem, I should think, is there a larger problem that could be created? So I try to generalize that piece of code. It's changing with new technologies as microservices and something like that. But when we are creating a product, you try to embrace the most amount of people you can do. It's a thinking, and Philip's challenging us to change our thinking. don't try to embrace the most amount of people you can, because you will have no focus and you will not deliver a differential for your customers. So try to focus on specific and try to at least prioritize what is most important for those people, what is the main problems, the main needs, when those problems exist, what's the value you can deliver in that specific point. Did I got it right, Philip?
Yes, Fabrizio, you've put it very well. Start small and build up from there. It's very good to have big ambitions. I think that's important, but start small and build up for that. Build up for the slowly for the bigger audience. And what you say about reuse is a very interesting thing. You could say, take for example this pen. This pen has not been built for reuse. It has been built for use, first of all. And so don't try to build for reuse before you have built for use. Make sure it's usable. And once it's usable for a certain audience, you might be able to reuse it for other audience as well.
Let's go further.
I think it's more clear to me now the innovation in the name of the innovation canvas, and it's exactly the point is find the most important thing and make an innovation. I don't know if I'm understanding very well, but and make the innovation since a point, an important point. Did you hear us? I think you have a little problem with connection now, Philip.
Are you hearing us, Philip?
I don't know.
Yes.
Yes.
There seems to be a bit of a connection problem right now. Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Sabine was saying about the innovation in the innovation canvas, and just now he got it. Why it's called innovation canvas, as clear as the point, the prioritization of stuff. I have another suggestion for you, Philip, in the canvas or in the methodology of the canvas. That is, as a customer from your service. I think it would be nice if, in the way of building the canvas, we had some way to prioritize stuff. I don't know if by colors, if by numbers, or something like that. But as you speak to us how we should use the canvas, I can see how important it is to prioritize the items on the canvas, and how that prioritization will lead us to the new innovations we are looking for. And so something to think about is how you could add this prioritization approach into the instructions or even into the pieces of the canvas. Did you get it?
I'm sorry, I seem to be having a bit of connection issues here, so I didn't really get the question.
That's not a question, it's a suggestion. Are you hearing me?
The connection is very bad now. Let's try, Philip. I see that the connection is very bad. I think it's time we finish this first session and try to schedule a second session to can have your insights. We have a suggestion from Fabrizio, but we can talk by WhatsApp, for example, and have a better time to do the insights and have your advices.
Yes, I think the connection is a bit better now, but indeed, it's good to have a second session. I'm very happy to participate in a second session.
I need to thank you for accepting to participate here with us. It was a great chat here. We have
Posso queimar a apresentação, Sabino?
yes.
So we are bigger on screen. Go on, Sabino.
Oh, let's finish here this first session. I think we had great insights here, not only about the innovation canvas, but also about our product owner library. That's our product, and I think we will have a great time to do a second session. I need to thank Filip for having accepted our invite, Fabricio's invite, to participate with us.
Our invite, our invitation.
And that have now at the end a little time to make a first finalization. I don't know if you want to tell something, Filip, about this session that we had, or a little about the innovation canvas, and so we can finish our first chat.
Yes, Sabino, Fabrizio, and Locoselli, once again, thank you very much for inviting me, and I'm happy to continue the conversation. And ultimately, that's what the
Caiu.
We lost Filip.
Vamos fazer uns comentários nossos, vamos ver se ele volta. E vamos tentar, inclusive, ouvir aqui do pessoal do público do chat se funcionou essa coisa da gente fazer em várias línguas. Olha lá, o Felipe está voltando.
Philip is back with us.
I don't know what's happening today. So thanks very much for the invitation. Happy to continue the conversation. And ultimately, that's what the Canvas is about. It's about helping facilitate that conversation, helping facilitate the discussion, helping people challenge their own ideas, helping people capture information from potential customers in order to better know where should we start when we start developing something. And so if the Canvas helps with that, then it succeeds.
And helps a lot.
Yes. Philip, thank you very much for your participation. It was very informative for us. I think we all learned a lot. It's a great challenge for us to do this chat in English for the first time, for all of us.
For sure.
Yes, it's the first time we do this with an international guest, and you were very kind and very patient with us, and I would like to thank you very much. You are always so available for questions, and you brought us today a lot of things to think about, not just using the innovation canvas, but how we can do innovation in our business, how all product owners that comes with us in the chat and what's our stories, how they should think about innovation, how they should think about problems, and how they should search for validation on the hypotheses they make. It was very useful.
And your English is much, much better than my Portuguese.
Thank you.
People should never hesitate to contact me if they have questions or want to try it out. The link is on my website to schedule a call. I'm more than happy to share experiences and to also learn from other people applying innovation in some way.
Thanks.
That's great.
Locoselli.
Eu queria agradecer o Filip pela disponibilidade, pelo compartilhamento do conhecimento, o compartilhamento da criação dele com a gente. trazendo de uma forma bem suave, bem tranquila. Eu gostei demais do papo de hoje. O papo de hoje me fez eu perceber muitas coisas, por isso as reflexões dessa semana serão múltiplas, tá?
Múltiplas. Você quer passar
É,
alguma agora?
a gente pode passar, a gente pode passar. Inclusive, vocês podem passar pro Filip. As reflexões que eu estou propondo são 3 questões que eu gostaria de destacar.
Vamos lá. Fabrício, já anota aí que é você que vai traduzir, tá?
Eu até traduzi, não sei a minha pronúncia se ele vai entender. Se a do Fabrício é melhor que o português dele, a minha vai ser igual, né? Quais são os ganhos da integração de profissionais de diferentes partes do mundo?
Olha, eu tô gostando dessa, já começou
Agora quero
bem.
ver além disso. Locoselli brings reflections or thoughts for us in the end of every session. And today he brought 3 thoughts. And the first one he was going to say in English for you.
Please, Locoselli, let's talk in English.
Vamos tentar. What are the gains of integrating professionals from different parts of the world?
You got it?
Great.
Your English not so bad, Locoselli.
It's the first one.
A segunda. Que barreiras de comunicação enfrentamos ao nos comunicarmos com estrangeiros?
Essa vai ser mais difícil.
É,
Vai lá.
essa tem tudo a ver com o que a gente falou na quarta também.
Não, tem a ver com a
papo,
nossa,
certo?
tem a ver com a
Papo de
nossa sessão de
comunicação.
hoje também, né? Eu acho.
Com a nossa de hoje, sem dúvida.
Tô falando especificamente assim da nossa também dificuldade de conseguir. Você vai fazer em inglês, Locoselli?
Eu vou tentar.
Vamos
Então
lá.
vamos lá.
Go in English.
What communication barriers do we face when communicating with foreign estrangeiros? Me ajude aí. Foreigners.
Or people with another language, because sometimes people are from different countries but talk the same language. So I think the better thing is what barriers.
Strangers. Sometimes even in the same country have different cultural
Yes.
issues.
Yes.
And we have barriers.
Yes.
Com estrangeiros, eu quis dizer, né? Então,
Yes.
é isso.
Ok.
E a terceira é
Third one.
muito diferente das que enfrentamos com os nossos conterrâneos?
Agora você pegou pesado, hein? Vamos lá. Acho que tem um pouco a ver com o que a gente falou no comecinho, mas em inglês, Locoselli.
It's very different from those we face with our countrymen.
Great.
For folks closely to us, the barriers are very difficult, are very different, or are the same?
These reflections, Philip, at the end of our session is to make people talk to us about the ideas that they have about the reflections that Locoselli bring us. And we had a session a few days ago about communication. Communication have the problem with the connection too. Communication have the problem with the connection too. And I think it's a good thing to thought about.
Yes. Those questions are not to be answered now, or just to be thinking about that. And during the week, we take those questions forward.
So let's finish this session. Thank one more time for you, Filip, and for your kind way of talk about your creation with us. And we will schedule a second session. And I will see you all in the next Papo de PO. E vamos tentar fazer mais algumas vezes essas sessões. Bilingual sessions of the Product Owner Chat will be common in the future. Thanks for be the first invited, the first guest that bring us the possibility of do something different here and bring this idea of innovation. I think there is nothing better than do a session with a different way of talking to try the put the idea of innovation for our audience. Thanks.
You're welcome. Look forward to next time.
Great. Tchau, gente. Obrigado por mais um Papo de PO. Até a próxima.
Vinheta, tá?